guys, we have an awesome AMA for you guys. It's a little bit different than usual. We're actually in the metaverse. So this is different. It's awesome. Who do we have the pleasure with speaking with? Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure, no problem. I'm Frank Fitzgerald, founder of PaxWorld. Longtime computer geek since the beginning of time. And went and built this 5 years ago, and really built this project over the last two.
Wow.
So come from the classical world of finance with Wall Street back then.
Awesome.
Made the good move to get out and kind of build metaverses a long time ago.
Honestly, it's looking so good. Can you explain what PaxWorld is and what are you guys hoping to achieve?
Sure, absolutely. So, let me give you a little background first, and I'll actually go into detail about it. But like I said, my dad gave me three video games, an IBM PC Model 25, and a DOS 3-ring binder back in 1980 something. And I've been on a computer ever since. I basically got out of college and was thrown into finance because that's where computers were doing.
Yeah.
Doing consumer finance, insurance, and then eventually becoming the COO of a pretty decent-sized asset manager out of the States.
Wow.
Doing quantitative stuff with computers. But one day my wife turned to me, who's French, and said, it's time to get out of the United States and get our kids into the Europe. And so we moved off to Zurich and never looked back. And it's been a lot of fun out here because I love to snowboard up in the mountains. But I got to do what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was build this. And I built this 5 years ago. And that's what, showed it to about 20 people. And, I realized really early on that the tech was there, we had the systems, but society wasn't. The world just wasn't ready for the metaverse yet. So I went off and I built some fintechs here in Switzerland. And then pretty soon, COVID hit a few years later. And guess what happened with those 20 people I showed the metaverse to? They picked up the phone and called me and said, "Could you get this up and running tomorrow?" And I told them no. I told them there's no way that I can do this in a really good fashion on a large scale. And so what did I do? I went out and raised some money. I built a team. And over the past 2 years, we've really started putting up together a product that really works well. And, we ran bar and club commission events with 3,500 people, did all these, test simulations and really proved it out and really even learned a lot about how people act and interact in the metaverse, which is probably some of the earliest testing in the metaverse of how that works. But then everyone kept saying, "When are you going to build your token? When are you going to build your token? When are you going to build your token?" And I always was of the mentality of, I'm going to build the world first, and then I'm going to build the token.
Yeah.
And for the most part, everyone thought I was crazy, but so I did. And in about April of this year, started talking with Dragon Labs, who's an incubator of mine, about what we can do and their experience in the crypto space and how we can build out the economy and the environment and really make this a useful token and not just something that's just thrown in on the side.
Yeah, definitely.
And really around August, we really worked that out. And, here we are in December, we released our white paper, and 2 seconds later, we're ready to go.
Wow. I think you did the right thing. Honestly, this is one of the best working products I've ever seen in terms of metaverses. That leads me to the next question. We've seen a huge increase in metaverse projects. How does PaxWorld differentiate from its competitors?
I mean, it's pretty easy to see just being in here, the way that you see this immediately. I'd say the first big differentiator when you look at the metaverse projects that are out there in the crypto space is this one works, and we have one. But I think there's a huge differentiation in what we're trying to do in creating what we kind of call this mature metaverse, right? We're talking about making this as a world that you can do all sorts of things from branding to education and going to school to, being able to run conferences and events and, being yourself in the metaverse.
Yeah.
As you can see here, I have my head on that we placed on with a single photo in just a few seconds. And that's really important to us, right? So we really want to be able to be that metaverse that's sort of, not replicating reality, because we want to still make it fun. But we want it to be something that, I can feel comfortable in, from, going to work, going to school, or going shopping. And I'm not interfering with the brand by having a flying dragon that's coming across the screen in the middle of it. So I think that's where we really have a differentiated niche space in the marketplace that's really powerful.
That's awesome. I know you guys get asked all the time about when token launch and when exchange listings, but I'd have to ask, the token, PaxWorld is launching soon. What kind of utility do you guys offer, and why should somebody hold the Pax token?
That's a great question. I think the best way to do that actually is just to bring you into the actual top level metaverse, or Pax World that we call it.
Okay, wow.
And really actually show it to you.
That's a first. It's exciting.
Yeah. So if you can see my screen, I know you can see it on the main area. You can first thing notice we're in a browser. We're not like in a downloaded machine. You can run this on a $300 Chromebook, which is a huge advantage. But if I just go into full screen here, so we have the next shot for the video.
So I can actually click the screen and go full screen as well too, correct?
Yeah, you can. And we should probably show people how that works in the system. But if I zoom out here, I just want to show you the world real quick. So this is a 5-kilometer space that has all sorts of purchasable areas. But more importantly, it actually has these communal areas. And these communal areas will actually be determined by the DAO itself of what we're going to actually place in these specific spots at different times. And what we're actually trying to do here is create in areas where we not only have our purchasable land, but utility in these spaces that can be rented out in what we call something that we call socialized to earn. So if I go down here, so what we're doing here is something we call socialized to earn, where we have these communal areas that we're able to rent out spaces utilizing the token. And in doing so, you'll get a link that you're able to actually present on screens. You're able to share your screen, and you can actually present up to 900,000 people inside the metaverse.
Wow, that's nuts.
Yeah, and so with that, as those people come in and they put their heads on, they utilize the token, you actually may be able to earn a specific amount of token with how that's actually being transacted. Now, that can be through a ticketing system, that can be in a variety of different manners. But that's just one of the things that you could possibly do here. And this could be yoga classes, this could be speeches on technology. So we have a variety of different areas that you can actually rent out from spaces. We have various different layouts of presentation areas where you can ask questions, create polls, and really have an interactive experience with the audience. We even have areas where you can create NFT art spaces, and users themselves can actually go in and actually place down framed banners, all sorts of information.
That was actually my next question. Like the NFT gallery, I saw somebody can, set up their gallery, set up their NFTs. They can even buy, sell. They can set up an auction. And you guys are releasing an NFT marketplace. Like, since we're on the topic, do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so we're integrating our systems with all sorts of different NFTs and asset bundles that you can actually bring into the system.
Wow.
And then just create the builders directly with it. So here we could take an object, we can just edit and place it.
Wow.
And
That's pretty cool.
with either direct NFTs or actual just straight up images in certain cases, you can just add in places, and it actually happens in real time for everyone in the world to actually see it.
Wow.
We can even add specific 3D models from FBX files on NFTs that we can place in, and you can manipulate just like you would with any 3D editor, but in a very simplistic way.
Yeah, definitely more like drop and drag, and you don't need any code to know how to do this stuff. It's very cool, actually.
Yeah, and one of the really neat things is to just even being able to buy land or try and buy land through minting technologies that we're even looking at placing in with the token and purchasing specific tiles. And then you're actually able to edit those specific areas.
Wow, you just purchased that live. Wow.
Yep.
And you'll be using the PaxWorld token to do that?
Correct.
Okay.
So you'll be able to use the PaxWorld token to purchase land. We're currently working on our land sales strategy, which will be actually occurring in March.
Okay, awesome.
Till we start that. And we will actually be doing multiple land sales over time.
Okay, wow.
And in this, I should show you real quick, as we look at the overall Pax world, this is considered to be a single district, right?
Yeah.
And this is 5.5 kilometers of space. We're going to talk about having 12 different specialized districts.
Wow.
And those specialized districts range in a variety of different areas, from art to music, to even sovereign states that we're currently in discussions with, even gaming, about having actually specialized districts for these areas.
Okay, so the PaxWorld Metaverse is loaded with things from NFT galleries, education centers, gaming centers, and even concerts. Do you guys have any future concerts planned right now? Do you guys have anything in the works?
Obviously, we're only 3 weeks out of stealth here, so we don't have any major announcements in that area yet, although we have a couple of conversations with some very well-known names and bands that we are looking to implement in the very near future. So definitely subscribe to our Twitter feeds to find out more information. I think we'll have announcements on a few things coming out in the next month.
So you said you have the capability of hosting 900,000 people. When the metaverses get more and more popular, are there ways to raise those numbers to, like, let's say 2 million people? Do you think it'll ever reach those types of numbers in one metaverse?
That was 900,000 people in one theater.
Oh, wow. Holy.
So that was just a direct one-way stream broadcasting system.
Wow.
Right now, we're only limited by the number of servers that we spin up.
Okay.
And we built our own game networking technology that we can actually spawn people through different methodologies. Basically setting up through friend networks, through spinning it up onto different servers and different instances of the underlying server as well. But the way you actually end up seeing just the people that are around you, depending on your CPU and utilization, are all technologies that we built internally that are proprietary technologies to ourselves. So unlike a lot of different groups that are utilizing maybe out-of-the-box technology that exists for, say, first-person shooters or other game systems, we realized that we had a specific set of requirements for the metaverse itself, and this sort of communication socialized to earn that's a little bit different and allows us to actually render this stuff on a very low-level network connection and PC.
Okay, awesome. And I had a question about, what do you think about the future of these boardrooms? So this is, like I mentioned, the first time I'm in one of these boardrooms. It's actually mind-blowing. It's awesome. Do you think this is going to be more happening more and more often, and people are going to kind of steer away from these traditional office buildings? And do you think this is going to be the kind of norm?
Well, let me tell you what we're doing a little bit on what we call a subverse, right? And I think we've kind of coined that term at the moment. So if you think of this Pax world that we have up here as the top level metaverse, right? And what we're allowing people to do is, as they buy land in this area, we will create and allow them to use subverses, which could be just an office space. It could be their own personalized one that we create for them individually, or in this case, this is the Christmas party that we ran, and we put a portal in the middle of the spawning area for them to actually be able to see.
Oh, wow. It's snowing too.
So we basically laid this out for our Christmas party, where we sold some NFTs from this wonderful artist that we work with that set that up, or a couple artists, I should say. And those went extremely fast. But here we were able to bring in all of our backers and investors, and we just kind of did this a while ago. And it was a fantastic event. And of course, we did it right in Paris because, in homage to my wife, who's French, I had to build Paris as one of the first areas that we created. But these sub-level metaverses, there's a real purpose for it. It's not just a general idea. And the fact that we want to run this on low-level machines, not these super high-end VR devices or something that you need a graphics card for, uh, we made sure that we could actually run this on low-level machines. And if you look at Decentraland and you look at Sandbox and the way that they're building out their systems, is they're saying that everyone's going to be able to do everything in the world on
Yeah.
this top-level metaverse. And there's technology challenges with that, especially if you're not running major machines, and even if you are, for that matter, depending on how much it grows. And by creating this in a link-based system, we're actually able to download different sets of code for different environments. So whether that's esports gaming, gambling system to a different area where you're going to go drive a car,
Yeah.
for a car demo, or even various items. So on the top level metaverse, we sort of are going to allow the DAO to actually determine some of that technology through voting,
Okay, wow.
and have that stuff set up, in a correct way that's going to work correctly on large scale devices. But then once you get in the lower level, call it sub metaverses, the limits are just purely based on your imagination of what you want to do.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned the esports world a few times. I'm a gamer myself, and I see that the play to earn model is literally revolutionizing the gaming industry right now. Does PaxWorld plan on releasing some of its games like in-house, or what are you guys doing in that sector?
Well, of course, from a specific perspective, I think it's a lot of partnering that we're going to be doing with a lot of different companies that allow them to go into their own areas that will set up. So we have quite a few what we call esports arenas that we're able to do streaming and pulling the information of live game system, but also even from a betting perspective, there's a couple of opportunities that we have with those groups that have their own tokens and will be able to use their own token system in their subverses and be able to do specialized things like age gating and utilizing their back-end technologies, because that's the way we've actually built this as a add-on platform.
I was even thinking like having people come in for a poker tournament like in the metaverse. That would be huge. That would be huge.
Yeah, and with full video streaming, and you can actually look at the guy's poker face.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. You can replay hands and things like that. Wow, like you said, the opportunities are endless. So, when does PAX World release? When are you guys planning to throw the metaverse to the public? I mean, everybody needs to try this out.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, we're going to be doing a couple of events that are public right before our token launch. Here coming up in February.
Okay.
So keep your eyes out for that on our feeds. It's going to be towards the end of February. But then we have like 3 or 4 events before we do our massive public launch that we're planning out in March, April, and May. With a public launch ready to go, ready to start building out your worlds starting in June.
Okay, wow. I was going to ask next, for the people that are interested in PAX World, I mean, this is just honestly one of the best working products I've seen so far. And I know a lot of people would like to, invest and get in early with one of these projects. So is there anywhere people can still join the IDO? Are you guys sold out? And you mentioned a land sale a few times. Can you touch on the land sale? What's to come? I saw it was Q1. So anything you can share would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So I gotta say we got sold out. I mean, day 2 or one and a half, we were probably oversubscribed on the interest side. Wow. We really spent the past 3 weeks selecting investors that we felt were extremely strategic for us. And obviously, since we've only been 3 weeks out on since our IDO, or sorry, not our IDO, our white paper release. It takes, and it was over Christmas. It takes some of these tier 1 groups a little bit longer just to do due diligence and run through the process. So we saved a bit for those guys, but at this point, we're closed out from an investment perspective on what we're doing, both on the seed and the private. As of, for the land sale that we're coming up with, we are finalizing out our map right now and building out the application to be released. To actually begin browsing land and what we're actually going to be selling out, and look for that to come in around the IDO time as well.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
Yep, and with the actual purchasing of the land and running that land sale, we're currently slating out for March.
Okay, cool. So very soon. That must be exciting. I know a lot of hard work. So I have another question. What are your plans after the IDO? What does PaxWorld plan to do? I know you guys have so much on your roadmap right now, but is there anything immediately after you guys, launch a successful IDO?
Well, there's a few things that we want to do, and it's really beginning to work out the underlying groups that we need involved. So it has to do with how do we create what we need to call the founding members, right?
Yeah.
That control these various districts in different ways to begin the initial definition of each district from a DAO perspective before it gets fully released out to everybody.
Okay.
So you have to start with a base set of level rules, and we're beginning to do that from a social perspective and elect those members that are going to control that environment.
Okay.
And then, of course, there's the scale out. So we want to make sure that we have the support environment up for our users on a mass scale. We want to make sure that we have all the technology around it from that perspective, as well as the direct integration with the token that's seamless, and do an absolute ton of testing. And so that's really why we're probably delaying longer, even though you're seeing the product right here.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that when we release this right and in a big way. And it's just the community building. We haven't really worked on that at the moment.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that community is large enough, big enough, and ready to go and excited about this product. So that's what we're doing in the fourth week now, I guess, we're rolled into that we've come out with this. But I just want to show you this one thing. Let me introduce you to our artificial intelligence engine. And this is one of those things that we can actually purchase with the token. So this is an artificial intelligence engine that automatically recognizes your name, creates the WAV file, and if she's never heard your name before, she can actually go do it. And it happens all in a matter of seconds.
That's pretty cool.
We can actually even customize this to the point where she can actually, have a specific voice of someone. If we get about 50 to a couple hundred WAV files of that voice, we can actually replicate that voice for underlying people. But now from the chatbot engine, we're going to make this fully customizable for users on their land to actually have someone there even when they're not to answer questions. So we can say who is Dragon Labs, right?
Yeah.
And so this is all just stuff that was customized and created very quickly for demo purposes.
Yeah.
But I actually originally created her as a performance analyst advisor on portfolio funds about 4 years ago, just for fun. And one of the things that we're going to be doing with them is just having it so that it can actually learn over time of the various questions, and the administrators can answer them on the back end as well.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's a fun little item.
So you definitely have more than a working product. PaxWorld, I believe, will onboard the masses. It's just insane what I've seen so far. Do you guys have a referral program? How do you get people to engage, build, and promote the community?
Yeah, so obviously this is the first day we've done an AMA in the Metaverse, and glad that you could be part of it. And so we're really working on these referral programs. We've just released out from South, like I said, 3 weeks ago. There's a couple of things that we have set up with various drops that we'll be doing, as well as referrals into the system to get people in. And we'll just keep an eye out on Twitter and Discord and Telegram, and you'll find out all about them more in the next coming week.
Awesome. We'll be looking forward to that. I have 2 more questions for you. What do you think about DEXTools, and what do you think about the future of DeFi?
Yeah, great question. Obviously I come from that classical financial background. I've been using, financial tools since, for 20 years now. And, from all sorts of stuff in the quantitative analytics space. And, what you guys have with DEXTools is, a really beautiful suite of products that allow people to really monitor their underlying portfolios, get information associated with their, pricing and stuff. And it's just a really excellent application. And the UI interface is, something I absolutely love. Coming from the classical finance groups where we were utilizing green screens, not, maybe even 15 years ago, not even. it's a real breath of fresh air to see some wonderful UI development.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you. And what do you think about the future of DeFi?
Well, I mean, decentralized finance is where everything is going.
Yeah, yeah,
you know, it's one of the reasons why I even going from that classical world and coming into, you know, decentralized finance spaces is something I've always just needed to do.
yeah,
You know, I even look at traditional banks and seeing where they're doing and just trying to transfer money from the United States
yeah.
to a European entity is a nightmare. But doing it through a decentralized area, I mean, it's a matter of seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, just with those experiences, you can see how these banks are going to go out of business if they're not actually, you know, moving into these spaces quicker.
Yeah.
Because it's just such a great system, but not only from the financial perspective, but what we're actually doing on the technology side of things, from what you could do from computing power, what you could do from sharing, and just removing these centralized processes out of the system is exactly where we need to be going.
I couldn't agree more with you. Thank you for your time, Frank. Is there anything else you wanted to show us before we end here? Anything that you might think is cool, or maybe some other features that PaxWorld offers?
I mean, we showed you just a few small worlds that we could go through. You know, I could take you to a university. I could take you to a museum. I could take you to the beach, Egypt, or, you know, all these different areas. But that's the great part about the metaverse. But the one thing I do have to say is this, obviously, I get to be the face of this, but there are so many people behind this I just need to thank, including, you know, the guys from Dragon Labs to my team that I have to say Merry Christmas to in Serbia, who, you know, as today is their Christmas. And, you know, they have just been the most wonderful group of guys that are and girls that are just super intelligent and dedicated to this process. So I just have to make sure everyone gets a shot out there.
Thank you for your time, Frank.
Thanks.